I'm the one that set it up. Met Mark through Billy. I also knew Wesley had been making videos debunking Billy. Just on a spur, he was like, hey, do you think we can get Wesley to join me tomorrow? That day we posted it. 6 hours later, Billy was knocking at Mark's door and demanding us to take it down. Because a lot of these practices are rooted in Eastern mysticism. Tony, Sadhguru, obviously, and Joe. And I even say in the video, hey, if you're going to do this stuff, I don't recommend it. You're manipulating your kundalini to try to wake up this force inside of you, dude, and it's so dangerous. My issue is that they're not honest. Sadhguru says he doesn't have a religion and what he's doing is just a technology, but that's not true. Sure, yoga is a technology. All the occult isn't a technology, right? Because it's not stretching. It's a spiritual practice, period. So you got people like Sadhguru going on Joe Rogan and trying to be like, oh, it's just, Shiva. Like he plays it off like this is not a deity they worship. And it's just not true. And that is part of the deception, because an American or even a Christian hears that and they think, oh, it's science, because these people don't have spiritual boundaries. And that's where Christ and the Bible and everything the saints teach us. You need to know what is from God and what isn't. Doing these events, and I got attacked by a demon-possessed woman. I saw hell. I was in this world, but I was in hell. I started seeing, when she was attacking me, I was seeing satanic symbolism, but the demon ended up coming back. That night, it was at a hotel, right? That night, that thing wanted me. He looked at me. I looked at him. I literally jumped. Like I jumped and ran out of the sauna. I was like, what was that a demon? Like masquerading as Christ? And I'm just like, and then I was like, I gotta go to church. So I go to the Orthodox church, and I just found it through research. And if I commit to this, like this is going to be so hard. But that's exactly why I knew why I had to do it.
Bravo.
I go there and I meet with my priest, and he's like, I want you to read a book. He's like, here's your first icon. Gives me a prayer book. Do these prayers. He assigned me some prayers. And then he's like, read this book. It's called Young Man, the Gurus, and Elder Paisios.
Yeah, same.
He's Paisios. Like, it's a little intense, but he's like, I think you're gonna like it.
Yeah. Good day, my dear brothers and sisters. Today's episode of The Study of Stuff is an extremely important one, and I can't stress enough the importance of this episode. Joining me today is Anton. He's the gentleman that set up the debate between weshuff and Billy Carsen. By now, I'm sure everybody has heard about that whole situation. Now, a few notes I wanted to make real quickly. What Anton's doing is extremely important and very courageous. He's new to Orthodoxy, so I want you all to keep that in mind when you watch this episode, and to also keep in mind that having a past in the occult, in the New Age, you really face darkness. You really face the other side. The great deceiver's presence is there. And it's very easy to forget that. And, for those that want to kind of pick apart what someone says or this and that about the faith, keep that in mind as you watch this, because one step closer to Christ is one step closer to truth. And he's just beginning his journey, just like myself. And the most important thing here is that what Anton is doing is really, really important and courageous in the sense that, he's going to be under a lot of attack, both spiritually and from people that don't like what he's saying or what he's exposing. So please keep Anton in your prayers. He's going to need it. He's going to need our love and support. Go follow him. I can't stress enough. Have him in your prayers. And, let's help him out, because what he's doing is extremely important. And his heart is in the right place. And he's, just watch this episode. It's great. It's incredible. And I think you'll get a lot out of this. Have a great day as you watch it. All right, boys and girls, welcome to the Study of Stuff. With me today is an amazing guest. I know I always say that. I know I always deliver. My guests usually are incredible. And this particular story is near and dear to my heart because of Anton's background. So with me today is Anton. I just want to say welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
As am I. I'm excited for this conversation. I'm excited for you to tell your story. I'll just give you a little bit of a background on me, just so it kind of makes sense. Most of my viewers kind of know my background, but it'll set up this conversation nicely, and I'm going to let you do your thing, okay? So all my just for you, my background is Cradle Orthodox, Greek Orthodox. I left the faith, I would say, tail end of the 90s, early 2000s. I was very interested in the subject of consciousness, and that brought me to the world of the occult, the New Age, Hermeticism in particular. What the bleep do we know? Through What the Bleep Do We Know? I met Amit Goswami. I actually interviewed him. Joe Dispenza is how I got introduced to him through the What the Bleep Do We Know thing. Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton. I ran the gamut. Yeah, Bob Proctor, Napoleon Hill. You name it, I did it. And along the way, I learned some stuff. I learned quite a few things. And long story short, I found my way back to Orthodoxy. It just seemed to me, looking at a lot of the things in Hermeticism in particular, when I took those 7 principles and I flipped them on their heads, I saw it was leading me towards Orthodoxy. And what they had done, whoever they may be, they kind of took a lot of Orthodox principles and flipped it. You find a lot of inversions in the New Age of things that we know to be beautiful, true, and divine. The Jesus prayer, they turned it into mantras. Incense, they turned it into sage and blah, blah, blah. All of those things. So that's a little bit about my background, so you kind of get why I really wanted you on the show. So now let's talk about you. So you've kind of come to the forefront recently. A lot of people know who you are now because of the incident with Billy Carsen. Do we want to start there, and then we'll kind of work through all that to like guru of the gurus and all that? So a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and run with it.
Cool. Yeah, well, I mean, it's very similar backgrounds. I watched The Secret when I was 16, and that just kind of set the tone for pretty much my whole life up until a few years ago. By the time I was 17 years old, I was making a bunch of money in high school. I was in part of like a network marketing type company. And, I was working and learning from people like Bob Proctor at that age. So he was my God. And I have a lot of respect for Bob, and I think he's a really good guy. He recently passed away. I started dabbling into using my mind to create my reality. And I think the difference between me and a lot of people who go from like the New Age and the occult to Christ is that I'm not saying it's not real. It's all real.
Yes, sir.
It's all very real. And I created a really, really good life for myself at a pretty young age. Fancy car by the time I was 17, making a couple $1,000s a month in high school with my own business. Long story short, I followed that path for a while. The company I was working with ended up going out of business when I was about 19 years old. And then at that time, I moved out when I was 18. And, when you're kind of like on a trajectory like this, like your ego and pride just goes crazy. But then when my income got shut off, I was kind of bitter, and then I got into corporate America, hated it. And then long story short, I ended up working with one of my buddies for his company. He was doing just like internet marketing, spreading positive messages. There was like some spiritual leaders that we were trying to promote, and I worked for him for free. And one thing led to another. After I got over being bitter, I got super into Bob and Tony Robbins and what's his face? The biggest secret, I forget his name. Earl Nightingale.
Oh, Nightingale, classic.
Who's the other guy? The Power of the Subconscious Mind, Joseph something.
Joseph Murphy.
Joseph Murphy. I was getting really deep into this stuff, man.
Oh yeah.
And at that time, I'm just kind of breezing over this, but I was living at my grandma's. I was 21 years old. I lost everything, and I was just like at the bottom again. And that's when I was like, okay, let me pick up all this information that I learned at 17 because I'm older now, I'm wiser now, maybe I need to look at it through a new lens. So I did. And that pretty much really was just like, phew, it works, you know?
Yep.
And I ended up getting an opportunity to go to Los Angeles. I moved from Michigan to LA to go work on a documentary with Logan Paul, who pretty much everyone knows who that is.
Yep.
It was right after his whole controversy in the Suicide Forest, and me and Spencer and others got called in to help him create this film called Be Here Tomorrow. It was semi-positive, I would say. And then, like now I was in LA, I was away, and it was the first time I kind of lived by myself. And I just went so deep into personal development, man.
Right.
And, it eventually took me to Dispenza. And then I ended up working with Dispenza, and this is when I parted ways from kind of my old life to my newer life, which was really to grow the spiritual gurus. So that's what I did. I mean, I traveled the world with Dispenza, went to, a dozen week-long events participating. And I took him from a nobody to almost 2 million followers.
I actually remember that moment when he hit those numbers. So now I know the guy behind it.
Yeah, so I'm that guy. And that kind of built my reputation in that community, in that space. And I was getting emails and calls and referrals every week, because everyone was like, who's the guy behind, Dispenza? And that's how it all started. And by the time I was 23 years old, I was making like 60 grand a month, and being an absolute idiot while I was doing it.
Yep.
And I mean, there's so much that happened in between there, but in that whole time of growing that business, that's when I connected with Billy.
Yep.
Got to know Billy, actually leveraged Billy. So before Billy was like doing Forbidden Knowledge, he always had the page. I think he started in like 2016, but I was paying him to promote my clients. So we would like use his page to promote Joe and others.
Oh, okay.
So that's how we originally connected. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you watch this 3.5 hour smear campaign, he talked about that. so that's how we connected. And then through the years, I thought he was a cool guy. He was always really good with business, really straightforward. Some of the people in that space were very unprofessional because like the spiritual space, these are not entrepreneurs. These are just, kind of hippies living in their mom's basement, started an Instagram, and nothing wrong with that. Just they weren't professional. But Billy was like always sharp and on top of it, and he had a good audience. So I liked using his page for my clients. And when I say good audience, I mean a converting audience that would buy and gain followers and things of that nature. So then, fast forward many years, COVID happens. And during this time while I was running this business, I was growing as well spiritually. And I had a desire to be like a spiritual teacher. That's kind of like, that's kind of how it all works. And that's a whole nother conversation. Like you get influenced by the teachings and then you want to be a teacher, and it just keeps people in that thread. And there's a deeper reason why that is.
Yes.
But I did that. And the first tool I learned was something called holotropic breathwork.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That Czech guy came up with, what's his name? I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I'm totally interrupting.
Yeah, it's just a really deep breathing, pretty much hyperventilating for an hour and a half. And you have a very psychedelic experience because your brain releases DMT, which is the same compound in like ayahuasca or psilocybin. And for me, it was life-changing doing those experiences. So I wanted to teach it. So I did. And I started, I was with my ex-girlfriend at the time. We were teaching this together. We would do sessions for our friends at our house. We do sessions with people on the beach. And it just kind of started gaining some momentum because it was really helping people. And then COVID happened and I was in LA. So it was like major shutdown. And, I've always been the type of guy, like, I'm going to find a way to help people. It's just how I am. It's just how I'm wired. And when it happened, I reached out to Billy because COVID happened and the Black Lives Matter thing happened. And I was like, hey, dude, I've been doing this breath work for people and it's been life-changing. Like, I think I can do it virtually. I mean, I've never done it virtually, but I think I could for your audience and we can I'll do it for free, give back. Everyone's stressed out. I have a really soft spot for people with mental health stuff. Like it runs in my family. So I've always been, I've struggled as well. I mean, I was having panic attacks every day when I was like 13 years old, and there's all these things. So long story short, I get with Billy. I first guided him through it because he wanted to experience it before we bring it to his audience. So I did his session virtually.
Okay.
And man, I mean, he was in tears. He was loving it. He was like blown away. And then we did his audience. So 10 out of 10 feedback. We had like 5,000 people on the call. And Billy was like, dang, this guy's really cool. So that's kind of like how our friendship originally started.
Okay.
In that time, like I shared in my video, if you watched it, one of our first Zoom conversations, he was like kind of lecturing me and my girlfriend at the time. And he told us how he was 70 years old and, things like that. I don't actually think he said 70. Okay. But I think he said 65. I've been saying 70, but I think he actually said 65.
Okay.
Or 67. It was somewhere around 70. And again, I didn't think twice about it. Google actually said the same thing at that time.
Yeah, I heard that from a few people actually, that they said that.
Yeah, and if you read my comments in my video, you see that I'm not just I'm not just making this up.
That's right.
And I can prove that I'm not making it up because I actually have Robert Grant, who is one of Billy's friends, on camera in my meeting that I had with him for my social media company, saying the same thing. So I didn't put it out because I don't need to. But I mean, if it gets that bad, I mean, I can put it out. But I don't need to do that. So yeah, me and Billy just became friends, and I was running this business and doing this thing. And at the time while I was running my agency, working with all the spiritual leaders, I was also growing in my coaching. So I started doing more and more coaching. I started building my own brand online. And I always just was like, yo, Billy has a great platform. Every time we do something, we get thousands of people.
Yep.
So for me, it wasn't even like, everyone like thinks we're like close friends. Like, no, it was all business. Like, the guy couldn't tell you an intimate detail about my life. I mean, he was saying I was married. I was never married. I don't have an ex-wife. I was never married. Okay. So like, he doesn't know anything about me because we weren't really friends. I mean, we were friends, but it's like in those circles, it's so superficial. Like everyone's kind of just using each other and you just kind of know it. So you're just kind of at the party to be at the party to say like, hey, I went to the party and like flex the picture on social. Like it's fake, man.
Totally.
It's literally how these circles are. So, so I mean that's kind of the gist of it there. And we ended up doing multiple different workshops. He spoke at my virtual events. I spoke at his stuff. I've connected him with clients. I've gotten him on podcasts with my clients. So I've done a very net positive, well, maybe not anymore, but for his business and his life, I helped him tremendously. Oh yeah. Then about last year, 2023, for good, probably 6 months, we ran his social. Okay. So we ran all his social, and I helped him, actually. I'm the one that created the Billy Club.
Okay.
I did all these things that made him tons of money. And that's really the preface of it. His wife, Elizabeth, I've known her since I was 17. So I've known Elizabeth since I was a kid, and that's because she is from Detroit and I'm from Michigan, Metro Detroit. And she used to go to a wellness center that I worked at part-time while I was working on my business. I had this part-time little like $11 an hour job. It was like a float center. Do you know what float tanks are? Yeah,
float tanks, absolutely.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
it's
so they
classic.
float tanks and neurofeedback and what else did they have there? Vibration plates, all this kind of cool stuff.
Grounding pads.
And she wrote a book and she has a really hard past and she really leaned on a lot of those modalities. So that's actually how I met Elizabeth. Okay. And she would come in every day, man. I mean, she was there every single day.
Okay. Yeah. That's
kind of crazy.
A lot of those communities are exactly as you described, because I was pretty close to like Paul Selig. I don't know if the Medium and those guys, he's like one of those channels, whatever. So everything you're saying, I'm totally tracking. It's absolutely accurate. That is that community. So how did you get to the point where you decided, okay, something's going on here, I got to say something? Because I know you set him up with the debate with Wes, or you set him up on Mark's debate, and then to debate Wes, and then that kind of turned into a thing. So at what point did that like kind of start percolating, and then you start saying, I gotta do something about this?
Yeah, so it started actually percolating probably about 2 years ago. I was at his wife's birthday party, and we were drinking. I wasn't drinking. I don't drink, but they were drinking, and she came up to me and she brought up the age thing.
Okay.
And I was like, why is that still on her mind? It was so long ago. Because when Billy told me it caused all this drama, and I didn't share this part of the story, but if you watch my video, I share it, where he pretty much ended up calling me and he was like, hey, Anton, do you remember that conversation about me telling you I'm not 70 or 65 or whatever it was? Like, that's how we started it. It was on speaker and Elizabeth was there. So it was just stupid drama, right? She was trying to undo the lie. But somehow she found out.
Okay.
So, that was years ago, man. I mean, this was 2019, 2020.
Okay.
I don't know, somewhere in that window, maybe 2021. I don't know, but now it's like 2023. So, I'm hanging out with them, and she's bringing this up, and I'm like, something ain't right here. Like, I could just feel it, and I was like, something's wrong. I don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint it. Like, I didn't even know Billy was like super anti-Jesus and stuff. I really didn't know, believe it or not. But yeah, so that was like a seed planted with me, and I started doing a little bit of deeper research about him. And I started to see like, oh, like, wow, like he likes to sue people. Like, there was a few YouTube videos out there, like with JT Pocket Watcher. I was like, wow, he changed his name. Then I was like, is this really real? I mean, this is a couple of years ago. I pretty much knew everything I shared in the video just last week. I've known this stuff for a long time, but it wasn't enough for me to be like, I want nothing to do with this guy. But it was enough to be like, I can't get too close. There's something more here. And man, that's what they do to people. They really try to bring you in. And they were like, let's do another breath work. Let's do this more. We've got to have you on a podcast. Like, they were always trying to bring me in. And like, it's cool. Like, it's generous, but there is an agenda behind that.
Absolutely.
And they ended up doing the same thing with my clients that I introduced them to. So yeah. So when the Wesley thing happened, a little backstory behind that, I'm the one that set it up. I know Mark. So I met Mark through Billy. I met Mark at one of Billy's parties.
Okay.
So met Mark through Billy. We just connected. He became my client. And then I knew Mark was a Christian, and I know Billy is not a Christian, but I know they're friends. And I also knew Wesley had been making videos debunking Billy. That's actually how I found Wesley. He just popped up on my algorithm one day. This was earlier this year, probably like February, maybe March, somewhere in there. So I find Wesley, and I start setting up a spreadsheet or a Google Doc for Mark, and just saying like, hey, like, Billy's going to bring up the crucifixion didn't happen. Here's this guy, Wesley. Here's how you should respond. I just made this whole doc, right? And Mark starts studying it, and I think he was a little overwhelmed. So just on a spur, he was like, hey, do you think we can get Wesley to join me tomorrow? And I was like, dude, I have no idea. Like, you could try. Okay. So then, Mark Mark just went for it. He's DM'd Wesley totally 24 hours before, and somehow by the grace of God, Wesley saw it, and then that's it. So
history,
Mark texted Billy. He was like, hey, there's going to be this guy Wesley Huff joining us on the show tomorrow. We're going to be, Billy didn't walk in blind like he painted it. That's just not true. And then, we do the show. It went great. Billy was fine. By the end of it, he was saying, I appreciate you. This is cool. Thank you, Wes. No animosity. But then as soon as he left, within an hour, Billy's wife was calling Mark, and just all types of threats started. And I was like, yep, could have predicted that one. So nothing happened. I mean, this was in October, man. People don't realize this. This was in October we did this interview. So they Mark kind of doesn't know what I know. I hadn't told Mark anything about Billy's past, nothing about what I really knew about the guy. And, he's kind of like weirded out. He just doesn't understand, like, they're friends. Why are you being like this? I don't get it. It wasn't that bad.
Yep.
So he essentially ends up having Billy over, and they have this long conversation. And Mark kind of warned him. He's like, dude, Wesley's going to talk about this. And if you try to suppress it, it's going to make it 10 times worse.
Absolutely.
And Billy wanted nothing to do with it. So we let it go. And Mark was like, well, like, let's not post it. And I was like, dude, we got to post it.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah. And he's like, no, we're not posting it because I don't want drama. And I'm like, Mark, you don't understand the internet, dude. Yep. Like I know these spaces. I know Billy's space. And now, because of my change in heart and beliefs, I now know the Christian space online.
Yep.
And I'm like, this isn't going to be good, man. And Mark's like, I know, but like, I want to protect my relationship with Billy and our families. And I was like, I get it, but I think him trying to suppress it is going to make it worse. And so Mark believed that too, but we were just listening to Billy,
Yep.
So 2-3 weeks goes by and the internet starts catching on because Wesley's talking about it. I'm talking about it. I started sharing some stuff on my story because I'm like, even though I work for Mark, I'm not gonna not stand up for what I believe in. And Mark was cool about it, for the most part, until I shared the doorbell light footage. Story.
That killed me when I saw that. I was like, what are you doing, dude? That's like so stupid, man. Sorry.
I had to show it, man.
Yeah, good for you, man.
But so almost a whole month goes by, and in that time Mark had texted Billy multiple times trying to get him to come over again to create a game plan, like, hey, let's either run it back, let's do this, let's do that, and just pure ghosted Mark. Just no answer, no response, nothing.
Yeah.
And Mark's actually going to be making a video about all of this.
Good.
Should be out sometime next week.
Very good.
So we gave it a month. When he didn't respond, Mark posted it. That day we posted it. About 5 hours later, 6 hours later, Billy was knocking at Mark's door and demanding us to take it down. Mark listened. He did take it down. Okay. And Billy was calling me at 2:45 in the morning.
Yep.
I didn't answer because I knew what was happening. And the rest is history. So once we posted it, people downloaded it, and then other channels started leaking it. And, me, my team, and Mark were like all behind the scenes. I'm like copy strike writing. I'm like, what am I doing? This is so dumb. I was like, this is so dumb, Mark. He's like, no, we have to, because I'm complying legally. And if he does try to sue us, we have to show we attempted. I was like, okay, I can get behind that. He's very strategic with it. It was actually very genius what Mark did.
Okay.
Because legally he protected himself in a lot of ways.
Okay.
So that happened. And then everything else happened. And then Billy, I did my video. And my video, what people don't understand is that I didn't just come out and make that video. I never, ever had a plan to do a video on Billy. I had other bigger fish to fry. That's 10 times worse than Billy. But this just all happened. And I was like, well, I got a lot on Billy, and people probably should know. So I put it out, and I put it out though, because it was a response to his cease and desist.
Yes.
That was my response. I was like, dude, my dad, this might not be Christ-like, but my dad taught me, if someone punches you in the face, you punch them back 10 times harder. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I don't like bullies, and what Billy's doing is not right. Not even the Christ stuff. That's honestly, I know it's really bad, especially from the Christian lens, but there's way worse stuff. In the practical sense, right? Not spiritually, but stuff that can get him in jail. And will.
I see. Okay.
Mark my words, this podcast, 2 years, I'm giving him max.
Okay.
I mean, it's that bad.
The thing is, because I don't want to spend too much more time on this stuff, because I really want to talk about the Orthodoxy stuff. But I think it's important to set this up as to why, and it's a very important subject. First of all, what the three of you guys did, yourself, Mark, and Wes, I think is commendable. I think it's important. I think it's far more important than maybe you guys even realize. I'm sure you realize, but for those that have come out of the new age, and like some of the stuff that you were talking about in that video, you were talking about the secret religion behind Joe Dispenza, Tony Robbins, and Sadhguru. Can you tie in some of that stuff? Because I when I was listening to that episode, I could relate to a lot of the stuff you're talking about, even some of the possession stuff. You don't have to go too deep into it, but please just give people a little bit of a warning as to why some of these deceptions are very dangerous, and they're kind of presented as like, good for you and good for humanity.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're just different forms of Gnosticism, really. That's really the essence of all of this stuff. You see, like, when people watch that video, because I mentioned that I'm a Christian, automatically there's a dogma they're seeing, and they think it's my dogma.
That's right.
But if you listen to my words, I actually don't say the serpent is bad per se.
That's right.
I say, I think verbatim, I say something to the effect of, I say something like, you almost cannot have spiritual transformation without the involvement of a serpent.
Yes.
I say that, and it's something to that effect. And what I'm saying in that video is I'm not necessarily making a conclusion, because I don't know fully. I have an idea, and I can tell you my experience, because a lot of these practices are rooted in Eastern mysticism, Tony, Sadhguru, obviously, and Joe. And I even say in the video, hey, if you're going to do this stuff, I don't recommend it. But if you are going to do it, you got to go to somebody who's going to do it in a safe way.
Correct. Like
Sadhguru versus someone like Tony or Joe, where it's just like you're manipulating your kundalini to try to wake up this force inside of you, dude. And it's so dangerous. I mean,
his book Supernatural. Sorry.
So dangerous. Yeah, it's got the caduceus on it.
Yes, that's a very dangerous book. Very
dangerous, because there's no, again, I don't believe in this stuff, but we can't control what people are going to do. So
correct.
If you are going to do it, you need real guidance.
Correct.
Now, you're going to be guided into a deception, but you might not go into like psychosis and stuff, which is what happens to a lot of those people when they start manipulating this stuff too quickly.
Yep.
So my issue with those people is that they're not honest. Sadhguru says he doesn't have a religion and what he's doing is just a technology, but that's not true. Sure, yoga is a technology. All the occult isn't a technology, right?
Correct.
But you can't say yoga, like, this is the position they take. They say, it'd be like me telling you this, well, go to divine liturgy, go to Vespers. It's not worship. It's just a technology.
Right.
What do you mean?
Right.
You're going to a church. Just because yoga doesn't take place in a church setting doesn't mean it's not worship.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So again, I have nothing against yoga. I have so many yoga friends. I have Hindu friends, Muslim friends, all these Buddhist friends. I don't care what you do. It's America. Do whatever the heck you want. But don't lie about what you're doing and what it's doing for other people, because it's not stretching.
Yep.
Sure, your body stretches, but it's a spiritual practice, period. No more conversation.
Yes. So
you got people like Sadhguru going on Joe Rogan and trying to be like, oh, it's just, Shiva. He's not, he plays it off like this is not a deity they worship. And it's just not true.
100%. Yes.
And that is part, in my beliefs, the deception, because an American or someone from America or even a Christian hears that and they think, oh, it's science.
Yep.
This is rooted in fact, and it's transcendent of my belief in it.
Yep.
Well, yeah, because you're worshiping. So it doesn't matter what you believe. You're going to get a result or a change in consciousness, a change in energy, a change in your theology, because you're partaking in a form of worship.
Yes.
Period. That's my only issue with it.
Yep.
Tony, same thing. Tony says he's a Christian. Tony is not a Christian.
No. And
I love Tony. He's a great guy. He's such a net positive for this world. man, I mean, you know, the stuff he does with the sex trafficking and all the amazing things, and he influences all the presidents we've ever had. Like, he's a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a huge heart, but he's not a Christian. So why do you have to position yourself like that? Why can't you just be honest? You know what? I used to be a Christian, because he used to be a Christian. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not anymore. And you can tell based off I went to his spirituality event. It's a $100,000 mastermind. Not one mention of Christ. Not one.
Yep.
Talked about everything else. Talked about Buddhism. Talked about Hinduism. Talked about New Age. Talked about this. Talked about that. Not a single mention of Jesus.
See, these
like,
people,
dude,
sorry, these people do open themselves up to being, even if like they have good intention, like let's say Tony Robbins, you know, his intentions are good, but the fact that he's opening up to all this stuff, the great deceiver has the opportunity to slip in and start whispering logismi to them, like logismi within his mind, and then manipulate that individual. Like, you're just opening yourself up. You're opening up the radio station for a signal to come in, and it's quite dangerous.
And then pre-lust kicks in.
Correct. Exactly. Because that's, Father Seraphim Rose.
yeah. I mean, dude, he figured it out, man. I mean, I agree with pretty much everything he says.
Yes.
And that's where I think a lot of New Agers and all the people in like the occult, and even the people who are drawn to new thoughts and everything else, because, you know, these are nuanced industries.
Correct.
It's not everything's a demon, right? Not everything's just demonic. Like, that's just not true. Some is more dangerous than others, and you're playing with fire either way. Mm-hmm. It's just some is a bonfire and others a match. Like, you know,
that's a good way
you know, so yeah, you might burn your finger, but if your house is on fire, that's a whole different thing.
Yes.
So I'm not a absolutist in that sense, because I've been in this industry since I was 17. I'm 29. So 16, I keep saying 17, it's 16. So a long time. So again, it's like you said, the deception will happen because these people don't have spiritual boundaries, and that's where Christ and the Bible and everything the saints teach us. You need boundaries. You need to know what is from God and what isn't.
Yes.
And just because something feels good does not mean it is good.
Correct.
And that's like that is the epitome of Tony Robbins. It's all about state. It's all about energy. Raise your energy. Come on, let's go. Scream, use your voice, everything. Yeah. And this is awesome because it can rewire your nervous system, right? That's a great, there's a beauty in that. But man, you do this, and now you're opening up to something else to start giving you imaginations.
Correct.
You start believing you can, I really was convinced I am going to be the next Tony Robbins. I probably could have become that.
I was going to say that.
I probably could have, but this vision came from something beyond just Anton.
Yep.
And it's kind of freaky when you're just like, huh? Like, where was that going to take me? It's a little scary because you're like, whoa. And I've seen, the thing about me compared to a lot of these other figures and coaches and wannabe coaches is that I've always had another business. So I didn't rely solely on my coaching income.
Smart.
These other guys and the up and coming guys, dude, they sacrifice everything.
Yes.
To become a coach.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many people, how many friends, they spend every last dollar giving it to people like Tony Robbins and Joe Dispenza to try to become like them. And it's so wicked, man.
Yeah, it's like a drug. They get you to need it, and you have to keep chasing it. How did you go from all of this to Christ and then to Orthodoxy? Because that's the solution here to a lot of these issues and problems that we have with these nihilistic self-worshipping, because it's all about self-deification. Most of these things at the end of the day, you're God, you know, you're the, so how do you go from all of this to Christ? Because before we got on air, I was telling you, I was listening to that video. I downloaded the audio and I was listening to it in the gym. I'm doing deadlifts, and then you started talking, and like I started tearing up, man, like on a couple of things, because I've been there. I could feel you through the recording, and I had the weight in my hands. I was shaking, and I put it down, and the girl next to me, she's like, what's up with this? Because I'm in Mexico. So she's like looking at me like, ¿qué? And she's like, look, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I just need a second, man. So I had to like walk away. So I really want you to talk about that, because it's a beautiful story. It's beautiful. Everything that happened was just beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's painful, right? But there's a weird beauty in it. So it all started because my ego was, I was so wicked, dude. The amount of people I burned that loved me is insane, all for the sake of building my coaching business, building my agency. Like I was cold. Mm-hmm. I don't care. And don't get me wrong, you need some of that in business, but dude, I took it to such an extreme, to where I wanted to be the guy and I would do anything to do that. Yep. So I started doing these events, and after my second one, I got attacked by a demon possessed woman. And, I saw hell. I not only saw it, I was in this world, but I was in hell. Mm-hmm. I started seeing, when she was attacking me, I was seeing satanic symbolism. Mm-hmm. I was seeing all types of crazy shit. Mm-hmm. And, this was at my own event. So it was a scene. Let me tell you, it was a freaking scene. And, we were able to disarm her, but the demon ended up coming back. And, that night, it was at a hotel, right? That night, it was the last night, like she pulled the fire alarm at like 3:00 in the morning of the hotel. It was bad, man. That thing wanted me. Uh-huh. And it wouldn't give up. She came all the way from Australia. One-way ticket. Okay. That's, she was under something, so. Okay. It was a crazy story, man. And it rocked me. Of course. There was nothing I could do. No amount of meditation, breath work, Reiki, meeting with shamans, meeting with Tony Robbins energy workers, meeting with every resource I had, calling on it all. Nothing helped. And I was like, dude, I think I just gotta go. Like, mm-hmm. I was like contemplating suicide. It was so dark. And that's when, man, Jesus just, he started to call me, and he started to reveal himself to me in like really weird supernatural ways. And it started with close friends. Then it was like some Peterson stuff. Then it was like through these different means. And I have so many stories, man. I probably wouldn't share this on like a typical podcast, but because your audience is mainly Orthodox, they don't poo-poo the mystical. No, not at all. I was in the sauna at the gym, mm-hmm. and I was listening to this documentary talking about how some of these like beings that influence the occult, like these light beings, mm-hmm. that people summon, and I did all of that. They could be demons. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I heard that. Mm-hmm. And I just had this demonic encounter like a year earlier. So I was like, huh? Like what? And I started listening. I'm listening, and I'm starting to like freak out. And there's this man in the sauna. He's wearing a rosary. And I live in a city in Michigan that is heavily populated with Chaldean Catholics. Okay. There's a lot of Chaldeans who are Catholic. And he turned to me, and I saw Jesus. Okay. And it was not a happy Jesus. It was like Jesus on the cross, like, you are in trouble. And I literally was in the sauna. He looked at me. I looked at him. I literally jumped. Like, I jumped and ran out of the sauna. Mm-hmm. I was like, was that a demon, like, masquerading as Christ? Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, mm-hmm. so confused. Mm-hmm. So a lot of stuff like that happened to me, man. And then I was like, I got to go to church. Yep. So good call. Oof. Yeah, I can try not to get emotional.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I'm borderline
and
there.
I just started going to church, man, and I went to the Catholic Church first. That's kind of just what I knew, and just sitting out in front of the cross, crying and praying to God, and Jesus felt so uncomfortable. I was like, "What the hell am I doing? Like, this is so weird. I'm praying to a dead guy on a cross." Like, it was so weird. I didn't get it really, but my soul kind of knew.
Yeah.
My soul knew. My soul knew the whole time. I feel like I've known this since I was young, and I just ran from it.
Me too.
And yeah, man, it got so supernatural, and I just like the warfare went up as I got closer.
Yeah.
And I started like receiving, because I am baptized Catholic. Like my parents were Catholic, but we were not practicing. It was like we go once a year type thing. Never talk about Jesus. My dad is a yogi, and so it's like that wasn't the vibe. But I started like receiving the Eucharist, and every time I would get it, I'd get super dizzy. Super dizzy, like dizzy spells.
Yep.
And I'd like be walking up to get Eucharist and be like, "Why are you doing this? This is stupid. It's just bread." I'm hearing these things. Or feeling it. And dude, those were I was under a lot of warfare, man. I wasn't possessed, but I was very oppressed. Very, 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 very. And I just kept going. Started going to church every single day.
Good.
Then I started researching, and then I started going to like some Protestant stuff, and I really liked it because of the elevation worship, although I don't agree with it all. There was a frequency to me that was a step away from the New Age and closer to God.
Very true.
And I was like, oh my God, like this is what it's supposed, like, it's so pure. It's so different. Like, and my heart just started like getting wrecked in a good way and opening to Jesus. Started reading the Bible. The order I'm going in is kind of wrong right now, but you get the idea. Reading the Bible, going to church, going to a Bible study. I'm at my jiu-jitsu gym, and we're just training, and then all of a sudden I see like 10 dudes just like get up like in the middle of the class, go change, and go into the corner of the gym, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I like see they're praying, and I could feel there was like a force field around them. I was like, what are they doing? And my friend's like, oh, they do a Bible study. I'm like, a Bible study? What the heck? So I started going to that, and I started telling them, hey, like, I think, I'm getting out of some bad stuff. If, like, you guys could just keep me in your prayers. And some of the people who were at my retreat with that demon-possessed woman ended up finding Christ and like becoming like crazy Christians.
Okay.
And they started praying for me, and like, I didn't even know. They told me this all after. They're like, dude, we were praying for you every day. I'm like, really? They're like, bro, for like a year. I'm like, whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. So these are things that was like, okay, like intercession is real.
Yeah.
This is obviously real.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So then I just started researching, and I liked the Catholic Church a lot, but there wasn't a single young person. And when I did a couple confessions, and they were very powerful, but I still didn't feel like the priest really got what I was going through.
Yes.
And not to like I don't want to sit here and argue which denomination is the better one. I think the most important thing in your life is a relationship with Jesus, and like getting a church that is sound in the Bible. And like, Orthodoxy is beautiful, and I believe it is the true church, but it's a conversation that's secondary to the conversation of Christ.
Yep. Especially when you're coming out of the world you came out of. That
exactly.
Like you're already touching that devil stuff, right? So you got to get out.
Exactly. Yeah. And I made a comment on one of my videos, and I made a comment about TD Jakes, and I don't listen to TD Jakes, but when I was in the New Age, I would throw on a sermon once in a while. Again, it's a step away from that and a step towards Christ. Is it the last staircase? No.
Yes, well put.
But it's a step.
Yes, well put.
And people don't realize when you're literally like in bed with the devil, a step away, like, hey, I might get in bed with you tonight, but I'm not going to put the covers under me, over me.
Yep.
That's a good thing. You're starting to get away. So like, people are this is the problems with Christians. They really don't get it. Like, I don't want to be rude, but a lot of them just don't understand because they never went through tremendous warfare.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, well, easy for you, dude. You grew up and your family like was Christians, and it's like all you know. Like, I didn't grow up like that. Like, I was quite literally working with Satanists, Luciferians, and wizards.
Yes.
Like, you don't know this life, dude.
Yep.
Like, not to be like egotistical, but it's like let's have a little grace, right? Like, let's emanate the mercy of Christ. And that's essentially what ended up landing me into the Orthodox Church. So I go to the Orthodox Church, and I just found it through research, and I was like, man, 30 minutes. I got my 5-minute Catholic church right there. 30 minutes, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, entrepreneur. I work like 10-hour days. Typically, I'm like, this is going to be so hard if I commit to this. Like, this is going to be so hard. But that's exactly what I knew why I had to do it.
Bravo.
I go there and I meet with my priest, and he's just such a kind, such a love, this guy, but he's masculine.
Yes.
And I told him that. He was like, you're very masculine, but you're like a loving masculine.
Yes.
He's like, what are you saying?
Yes.
I don't really think you get what I meant.
Yeah.
But I was like, there's something in the spirit of Orthodoxy that felt safe because it's secure and not rooted in, like, these men are not going to be swayed.
No.
And in the Protestant stuff I was going to, and I'm not saying all Protestants are like this, but the Protestant churches I was going to, it was very liberal in a lot of ways. Very liberal. And the guys were very soft, and it was kind of like, people are worshiping, and everyone, like, there's a lot of people speaking in tongues, and it just didn't. I was like, I don't need this. And I'm not even going to make a judgment of what that is. I was like, I need something different for me personally. So when I went with my father, he was just so gracious, and, it was very emotional. And there was something that happened to my soul, actually, in our first meeting where, we're under the dome.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to him, and I don't know what it was, but something happened. Like, something in me changed. I don't know if he was like doing the Jesus prayer or something. I don't know what happened, but something that was dark about me that day changed. And that to me was like, I've been around mystics long enough to know when there's something mystical happening. And I was like, yes, there's something, and it wasn't even him. Yep. It was the church. Yep. And I was like, that never happened before. And I was like, And he's like, I want you to read a book. And he like takes me into like the fellowship area. He's like showing me around, like showing me to the bookshelf. He gives me this little icon of Jesus. He's like, here's your first icon. Gives me a prayer book, Orthodox prayer book. He's like, do these prayers. He assigned me some prayers. And then he's like, read this book. It's called The Young Man, the Gurus, and Elder Paisios. Yeah, same. He's Paisios. Like, it's a little intense, but he's like, I think you're gonna like it. Yeah. Okay. And dude, the rest is history. Absolutely. Dude, I really love it because I could even feel it off you. I could even feel, not to get all like, I could feel the difference between when you were talking earlier about your path going into with the new age stuff, whatever, and I could feel I could see the change even when you started talking about orthodoxy and Christ. You could feel it's palpable. It's very direct. And you made a lot of really important points. PTSD too when I started thinking about that stuff because like my mind like gets pulled into like these really dark memories. Me too. But then like it's the grace, right, of what we have found on the other side. Yes. Like I've taken so many friends and family. Not so many, but a handful. And they're like, wow, 2 hours? You stand? And I'm like, I love it. Yeah. Like, you stand. Yeah. Yes. Like, yeah, you do, actually. And it's beautiful. Yes. Like, what, can't stand for God? Yeah. No, and you know what? Because of our past, a lot of people that haven't gone down that road don't understand that, you experience the other side, the demonic side. You experience it firsthand. You like you said, you felt these mystical experiences. You know what they're like. And for me, when I went, because I'm cradle, but I'm in Mexico. I moved from Canada because of all the stuff in the last couple of years. And I hadn't, right when I came back to Orthodoxy, I didn't have a church nearby. So I had interviewed Father Turbo, who's now my spiritual father.
about a little over a year ago, and I really like started going hard into like practicing orthodoxy, trying to become a good Christian and all this stuff. And then a couple months ago, we actually made our way to Texas, met Father Turbo, and went to my first liturgy as a proper Orthodox again. And Father Turbo, like the first hour I was in the church at St. Maximus the Confessor, I felt a lot of what you're talking about. And yes, I'd been to church many times when I was younger, but this was different. And I was shook. I was visibly shook. Even Father Turbo, we hadn't even said hello yet. We're in the church. And like, of course, I'm going to be excited to meet my spiritual father face to face for the first time. He could see I was like sitting there with my hands in front of, and he like taps me. He's like, "You okay? Whenever you're ready, we can go for confession." And I was like, "Yeah." And the first thing I say to him after saying hello is like, I looked at him and I get a little, I'm like, "Father, this is real. This is real." And he's like, "Yeah," because I felt it like you're talking about, like there's something, it changed me. It got into my spirit. Christ, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. It was just, as you're saying it, I know exactly what you're talking about. And the first time I took communion after all those years, I don't even want to even try to put it into words, but it was real. Like it was, I knew this is for real because I had done the energy stuff and blah, 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 blah. It wasn't like that, but because I had experienced those things, I can sense the difference of change, that internal change. And I was like, this is different. It's like a warm hug from a mother. I don't know how to describe it. I don't even want to try to describe it. So
yeah. I love when the difference between like orthodoxy and a lot of other, I love apologetics, right? It's a beautiful thing, but there is a layer that it's beyond logic.
Bravo.
Period. Like there's like my priest always says, like you can't really talk about God.
Yes.
Because it's Jesus, it's so beyond. And this is like what the New Age tribe is like, "Oh, I get Jesus. Like he's just a mystic." Yeah. It's like, dude, you have. No one knows. Yeah, no one really knows. And if they say they know, they have no idea what they're talking about.
Bravo. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, receiving the Eucharist and all these things, confession. Like I got in a pretty big discussion with one of my best friends. He's a Protestant, and he's like, "Dude, you don't need a middleman." I'm like, "I agree with you, but I need humility." Because if I just sit in my room and confess to God, I'm not humble.
Yeah, well put.
And I know how I am.
Yep.
I need a man.
Yep.
Who I know.
Yep.
Who's gonna I know he's not judging me, but I need to make myself humble so I can get closer to God, because pride has been a big problem my whole life. So
yes,
it's like
me too. And
I think the spirit of pride is huge in the New Age.
Yes, it is.
And that's my foundation. Like what all these Christians who are like giving me criticism, it's like, you don't get it.
Yep.
I don't have a Christian foundation.
Yep.
I have this other thing. And I'm working in, I'm also learning publicly, which is not the best thing, but I really am trying.
Well, I'm doing the same thing. I don't mean to stop you there. I think it is a good thing if you're doing it the way you're doing it, because I'm doing the kind of the same thing. And I just keep saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. Go talk to a priest. But here's some of my
go talk to a priest. Right.
I'm just some idiot with a camera and a microphone. That's it.
right. Yeah, exactly. And that's, I'm just trying to use, So it's beyond logic. And God is just so good, and he's so forgiving.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to respect your time, and I know you gave me a hard cutoff, so we're getting close to the end.
Yeah.
Before you say, plug your stuff, give whatever you want to say. Before you get to that, I just want to share with you a little small story that might be helpful. I kind of was talking a little bit about it off air, but I want to say it on air. I had Cyprian from the Royal Path on, who's his spiritual father is the same as mine, which is Father Turbo, and Father Turbo had told him when, he had a very serious occult background. He used to be on that HBO show Gigolo, just so you get an idea of what kind of background he has. And Father Turbo told him, something similar to what he told me. He's like, when you make that change from the occult to Christ, the spiritual warfare is going to be quadrupled. It's going to be threefold for sure, because not only are you now dabbling with the other side with God, you're also a turncoat. So you're a turncoat like the rest of us, right? So because of that, it's a bigger threat. And so I just want to commend you on the work you're doing. I think what you're doing is very important, and I'm going to make sure you get all the support you get from our community. I'm going to make sure you're in all our group prayer groups and all of that stuff, because you're going to need as many prayer ropes going with those bullets as possible, brother. You're walking a path that I know a bit of, but like you're taking it to the next level. So I just wanted to say that. I wanted to commend you on that, and I think I can't say that enough, dude. What you're doing is more important than you get where I'm coming with this.
I can't even take credit.
Glory to God.
Like, dude, it's literally, it's not me. I didn't choose my path.
Yep.
I didn't choose to work with these people. It was the way I built wealth was too easy.
Understood.
But it was like, God, I'm setting you up.
Yep.
You have to go into the depths of hell to see how bad this is, because somehow he chose me for some reason for this mission. And now that I realize it's always been him,
yes,
I'm like, oh,
yes,
okay. So I'm more safe now than ever.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean I'm not going under attack, because I absolutely am. And I know when I'm being attacked, I can feel it.
Yep.
Which I'm grateful for. Like, why am I so sensitive? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, none of it makes any sense. And I'm like, it's God. It's all God. It's always been his plan.
Yep.
And now it's just, okay, getting like, people are like Jesus had no fear. Be fearless. I'm like, I'm not Jesus. I'm terrified.
Absolutely, dude. I get it.
Terrified. Because I've seen what these people can do and do with magic and all types of stuff. So
yes,
I am just, Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. Have mercy on me.
Absolutely.
Have mercy on me. Because I know it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter what I do.
That's right.
It's like, it's him.
That's right.
So whatever I go through, he wants me to go through. But it seems to me, I thought the journey was over, but I think it really just started.
Yeah. Cyprian on that same interview said this interesting thing. He said doubting Thomas required that extra step of proof to actually put his hands in the wounds. And because of it, because of that, there was more expected from him. So he went the furthest. He went the furthest out of any apostle. He went all the way to India because of that, because more was expected from him. So then I asked Cyprian, are you saying that that's what's, and he's like, exactly. So because we asked to put our hands in the wound to prove, because by the experiences you've had and I've had and people like us, we know the dark side is 100% true. There is no lying about that. So therefore the other side must be true. So when you start to experience that, you needed that evidence, you needed that proof. Well, more is expected from you, brother. And you got to go all the way, not to compare us to the apostles, but because we asked for that proof, more is asked of us.
Yeah. I actually, I'm a business guy, right? So I was talking to Wesley about this. I was like, dude, I was doing some calculations and I was like, by my calculations, roughly I've led indirectly about 10 million people into the new age. When I say new age, it's all the things we talked about. It's the spectrum, just to make the conversation easy.
Yes.
It's like, all right, 10 million people. So I was like, now I'm making a spreadsheet because I want to see every comment. And I'm documenting it. Not that I have to.
I understand.
It's just how my mind works. And I know like we're saved by faith, grace, by faith alone. But actually, I'm going to read something Wesley said to me. It really, really hit home.
I told him this. I'm sorry, I have to correct you on that one. We're not saved just by faith alone. It's faith and works, as in James.
Faith and works.
Yeah. I'm just saying that because I know my audience will be like, "Oh, you didn't correct that," and it's true because that's a Protestant.
And again, I'm still learning.
Yeah. It referenced to,
and maybe you won't agree with this, but I like the way he said it. He said, because he corrected me too. He goes, "No. Saved for works, but not by works," is how I put it.
That's a little bit more of a Protestant approach. James says faith without works is dead, and
Yes.
That part, Martin Luther wanted to take James out of the gospel because of that one quote. That one part there kind of dismantles the faith alone argument. So for us, it's both. It's both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I never bought into it anyways, just
Yeah.
because like, even if I'm looking through the Hindu lens of karma, it's like, that kind of still, I was like, I was a believer of past lives and all this stuff. So when I came to Christ and people were saying that, I was like, I don't think that is. And I've said that and I've got corrected, but now you're correcting me to what I originally actually believed. So again, why I love Orthodoxy. It's stuff like this. And again, it's not to put the denominations in like a ring and like face off. But I think if you have a background in, because like we talked about this at the church, it's like, can you be a Protestant and be saved? Yes. I believe you can, 100%. Like, that's not our call as Orthodox Christians to make.
Ultimately, we can't judge.
It's not our call.
We
that's
can't
God.
Judge from the heart.
We can't judge the heart. Like, and I know there's like, you're telling me Wesley's not saved. Like, come on.
I don't know.
That's not us.
Right.
We can't make that call. So,
but to make that part clear, Orthodox believe you don't know to the end. Like you could live the most righteous life. That's why there's the icon of the I forgot what it's called. It has the ladder on it, and then people are falling off right when they're on the top. Basically the point is, we don't know till the end, right?
Right.
But I think you make a really good point when you said earlier, like if you're coming from that dark side, if you're gonna have to start off there, and that's the beginning, you're one step closer to Christ, and just keep going.
Exactly.
Ultimately, it's about the truth. And if someone's interested in the truth, they're going to continue digging. And if they continue digging, they'll go to the pre-denominational church, and the pre-denominational church is Orthodoxy. But I do agree with you. We can't just like close the door on anyone that's not Orthodox. We have to keep an open heart there, and then have those conversations. And we all need to learn. I'm cradle, but I'm pretty new to all this stuff too. So
right.
And that's the beauty of it.
We all believe ultimately that Christ, right? We all believe in Jesus. So that, and to me, is the most important thing. And again, like, I want to see myself as a leader. I'm the type of guy where, I have that's my one critique of Orthodoxy is there needs to be more boldness.
Agreed.
I see that very clearly. And I've spent my whole life making people famous and bigger and more attention to grow them ultimately for their message. Well, obviously we know what that message was. It was not the truth.
No.
So I'm like, not that we need to change the sacredness and the tradition, but like something as simple as like social media, like I kind of got encouraged, like, hey, you shouldn't be doing social media. It's like, you're telling me I can't talk about my...
You said that to you?
Yeah, there's been like some, like, not directly, but there's been an undertone of that through certain people around me. And I was just like, I hear you, and I don't want to be ignorant right now or prideful, but yo, if I can share my testimonial and it's going to save people and get people to go to church on Sunday and they haven't been in 20 years, you're telling me that's not what Christ wants me to do because the internet?
Okay, hold on. Let me pause you right there. There is a whole section of online Orthodoxy you may not be aware of, where people will agree with what you just said, very much so. And a lot of us are doing that, including priests behind us saying like, well, if you're using this as a way to get the message out, it's a good thing. Father Josiah Trenum had this really interesting quote where he's like, it's like saying, don't use the Roman roads in the time where the apostles were trying to spread the gospel. So there is a whole side of that. And in terms of boldness, there's quite a few online Orthodox individuals. Maybe I'll send you a list of them. If I had to pick one off the bat for someone coming into this, for trying to figure all this stuff out, Church of the Eternal Logos. David Patrick Harry does an amazing job of apologetics. He's really great at introducing people to a lot of these concepts. He has a background in the New Age. So the reason why he popped in my mind first is because you would relate to a lot of his stories, all the
cool.
ayahuasca trips and all that stuff that he did in the past and how he came to Christ. And he's extremely bold. There's a lot of like Jay Dyer's bold. Like quite a few of the online Orthodox brothers are very bold. And there's a lot of great priests that would definitely support what you just said, including Father Turbo, Father Josiah Trenum, Father Moses McPherson. Like there's quite a few. So
because
you're in a good space.
Like, and I just I think orthodoxy is the best remedy for the sickness of deception.
It's the hospital. It's the hospital.
It really is. And you felt it. I felt it.
Absolutely.
And other people, at my church have similar backgrounds. It's like it grabs a certain person, because what I say to a lot of people who are Christians who are like, oh, it's a demon, da, da, da. I'm like, bro, you don't get it. These people have such a desire for truth. They're just looking in the wrong places.
Yes.
And you're claiming to be the truth, so you demonize them. How could they ever walk towards you? They're a demon.
Yep.
Why would they walk towards you?
Yep.
And that's ultimately why, I mean, honestly, all my experiences haven't really been that, but I know a lot of my friends have.
Yes. I get it.
But like my Catholic priest I was talking to, my Protestant priest I was talking to, my Orthodox priest, they all, like, from all of them, I felt no judgment. Like, I really didn't. Like, these were true men of Christ, and it was like, wow, like, that's new. And that brought me in. Like, I was judging them way more than they were judging me.
For sure.
And, and that's Christ, right? Like, when would Christ in the Bible be like, oh, you're too wicked, I can't help you?
Yeah. Right. Right. You got to have that openness. I don't want to interrupt you, but it is the time that you told me to cut off.
Okay.
So it's totally up to you. Like I'm happy to keep going, but I just wanted to make sure I respect your time.
Yeah. Let's go 5 more minutes.
Okay. Okay.
I just got to shoot off a text here. Yeah. So you can just, find me at Anton Wisbiski. I'm going to start putting out a lot of stuff on my YouTube. My Instagram's a little bit more funny. Yeah. And I just want to forewarn everybody, like, I am a social media guy, so I know how to play the game. So you might be like, that's a little strange of a post, but you got to understand my core audience is not Christians.
Right.
So I'm really trying to be a bridge right now. And I know if I go super Jesus, super serious, I'm not going to grab anybody. So I know I'm offending a lot of Christians right now, but I really don't care, because I kind of know what I'm doing.
Yep.
And I'm like, yo, like, you're already saved. Like, okay, you can nitpick me all you want, but like, if I can't like make a joke and like I went to the Vatican and like people don't like get it. So just keep that in mind when you're following me. Just take it easy. Like, I'm actually very level-headed and grounded, and but I'm also funny. Like, I am actually a kind of a funny person. Like, I
don't have to worry about that with Orthodox crowds. I'm just letting you know. I could
cool.
I'm going to introduce you to a whole side of Orthodoxy online.
I'm excited, man.
Okay,
because like they need to start commenting on my stuff. Because dude, these Christians are eating me up, man. They're like, you said you were fasting. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Like, it was an accident. I literally said in one of my videos, like, if I'm a little loopy today, like, I am fasting, but I wasn't like I know in the Bible it says like that's between you and God, but like, again, that doesn't even cross my mind right now. Like, I'm still like so new to all this.
No. Whoever's telling you that is get it. Okay, I'm gonna introduce you to a whole new world. Don't worry, you need to know my audience and everybody else. Oh cool. No, you're in good hands, brother. Don't worry.
I'm excited. I'm excited because I'm like, yo, I'm trying to just help people. Like,
no, there's nothing.
I don't make money from this. Like, I'm just trying to spread a message.
No, you're good.
Okay, cool.
You're good, brother. You're good.
Cool. So yeah, give me a follow. I'd appreciate engagement and maybe having my back on some of this stuff.
We're on it.
But yeah, I'd appreciate that. I appreciate the prayers as well. I mean, this is just getting started. I have a lot of people on my list. And I'm going to need a lot more of these.
What is that? So I didn't see that.
It's a linchpin.
Yeah. I love that. That's good. That's
From
awesome.
Billy.
That's really, wow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he called me the linchpin.
Okay.
because I'm the mastermind behind his downfall, apparently, according to him, allegedly, of course.
You're going to need the bullets.
Yes.
You're going to need the
Exactly.
bullets. Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, shoot me a follow. Shoot me a message. I'd love to connect with more Orthodox people and just kind of see the community, because I don't really think I'm aware of it, as you're saying. But yeah, brother, this has been a really great pleasure, and it's been fun. This is definitely like by far the best interview I've done so far. So.
Awesome. That's great. No, I thank you so much for being on. I'm sorry to rush it because I want to make sure I respect your time. I appreciate this very much. I know you're a busy guy. You have an open invitation anytime, whatever you want. We're building something here. I'll tell you about it down the road, like in terms of networks and all that stuff. But I will introduce you to a whole bunch of online Orthodox content that will make you feel fine with your humor and actually encourage more of it. So don't even worry.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, because dude, I've been putting so many filters. I'm like, man, I'm just not being me right now, and I'm like, that's not right. Like, why am I trying to suit to the 5% of my new audience when like I have 95% of like lost souls like looking for help?
Oh, dude, we're pretty bold out there. The online Orthodox community is exceptionally bold. I'll introduce you some cats. Don't worry.
Cool, man. Awesome, brother. It was great meeting you. Thank you for everybody for listening, and see you guys soon.
All right. God bless you, brother.
God bless. Thank you so much.
This is Bobby Begin. Bobby. Now you're watching your eye or no more.